Good evening, everyone. Thank you for all being here. I'll call the committee of the whole meeting to order for September 30th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. And as I open the meeting today, we are meeting on National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, a day that honors the survivors of Canada's residential school system and the children who never returned home. I'm reminded on this day, and I acknowledge that our meetings are held on the traditional territories of Treaty 7, where the Blackfoot, Tsuut'ina, the Ayaksi, Nakota Nations, and the Métis Nation Region 3 make their homes. I welcome everyone today to hear from three local organizations, three very valued local organizations: the Disbury District Historical Society, the Disbury Lions Community Bus, and the Disbury Municipal Library Board. And we have an order of your events tonight. I think you're probably aware, you are aware of the order. But first I have approval of the agenda as presented by consensus. Okay, so having said that, I don't know how they picked the order, but the order has been selected. And first up tonight to present on the successes of your 2024 year with your organization and to hearing about all you have planned for 2025. So, Disbury District Historical Society, Warren Smith, President, and Don Stewart, Manager. Welcome. I'll just ask you to turn your mic on, just a button there.
Thanks.
And yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us to present here today. We wanted to start out by showing you some of the things that we've done over the last close to a year since we last presented. Next slide, please. So here is our statistics. Now, I'll draw your attention to the fact that this is only our statistics until the end of August. So we have, again, experienced some pretty strong growth over the year. We still have 4 months left to go in the year, but our numbers sitting at the end of August were 3,171 visitors compared to our record-setting year last year, which was 3,778 visitors. It's just amazing how much we have welcomed through our doors. Our international visitors this year included Australia, Brazil, Chile, England, France, Germany, Mexico, New Zealand, Scotland, Ukraine, and of course, a lot of visitors from the US. We are literally ambassadors to the international community. Next slide, please. This one is more showing our fiscal year. So our fiscal year ends at the end of August. So these numbers are what we look at when we look at how our year has been. So the bottom green spot there is our regular guests. So of course we expected our regular guests coming through the door to hopefully increase. The kind of minty green color on top of that is our school tours. So that includes Summer Fun Kids, which we welcome through our doors every week over the summer. That includes all the schools that came to visit us throughout the month of generally June, but we also had some come through in May. On top of that is the burgundy color, and that is our special events. So that includes anything that the museum hosted or co-hosted. On top of that is our coffee and conversation, which has been incredibly well attended in the last few years. Every month we have a different guest speaker. We host people coming up to talk from Calgary, people from locals. It's always a different topic. Next up from that is our private rentals, and we're really experiencing a lot of growth in our private rentals. And that's people who are having their AGMs at the Didsbury Museum, people who have their monthly meetings at the Didsbury Museum, people that rent it for family gatherings, birthday parties, anniversaries, that kind of thing. So that is probably one of our biggest areas of growth in the last couple of years. Next slide, please. I think one of the real keys to our success is the diversity that we've experienced over the last few years. We are keeping our exhibits fresh and new at the museum, which of course you would expect. That's pretty much our main purpose. But we are also renting out our facility. We're doing a lot of community outreach at places like Bethany, at places like Unit 1 at the hospital, all kinds of things. If different communities are having an AGM, we go out there and give a historic talk. It's a lot of fun. We have a revitalized social media presence. We are strongly geared towards tourism and community partnerships, and I think that's reflecting in a lot of our numbers as well. We have a lot of inspired programming and events. We're fostering positive relationships. In 2024, we actually had 491 kids come through our door, and I think that's just pretty impressive. We really keep focused on the experience of people, whether they be visitors, volunteers, staff, board members. It doesn't matter. We try to immerse them in our rich history of Didsbury and our shared love of the museum. Next slide, please. So now we just want to show you some examples of the things that we've done over the last year. So here's some of our newer exhibits that we have in the museum. We've got a cute little parlor where we have a lot of historic artifacts. We've got a uranium glass display. We've got some new information signs to explain what some of the displays are. We have a community cabinet for people who aren't quite ready to let go of their collections, but they want to share it with the community. And that's right front stage in our hallway on the main floor. And that'll be a rotating display for people in the community that maybe collect coins or cards, or in this case, she collects dolls, and she's been collecting only since COVID, but she has over 400 dolls. So some of them are on display at the museum. Next slide, please. We've also been hosting a lot of events and tours, so we have some examples of special events that we've held out on the grounds. We've had bus tours come through. We've had just groups of tours that we hadn't even heard of before, like the Alberta Retired Campers. That was quite a fun one, and they really enjoyed their visit. Next slide, please. We were invited to participate in the Didsbury Trade Show this year, and it was a phenomenal amount of work, but I think it paid off, and it was very successful. So that was a lot of fun for us, and we got great exposure that we couldn't have otherwise afforded being a charity. What we were really proud of for the Didsbury Trade Show is we were also able to give back to other not-for-profits in the community. The Lions, Mountain View Colts, Didsbury Rec Hockey, Didsbury High School Band, and the Elks. We were able to contribute $3,675 back to the not-for-profits. Next slide. And then we had an incredible Canada Day. I'm so grateful how many people came out and how many people came out to help. We had, on that one single day, almost 450 people sign into the Didsbury Museum. It was shoulder to shoulder in there. We ran out of ice cream numerous times. We ran out of cake very, very early on. There was a lot of dishes that some people in this room might remember. We were incredibly inspired by just how many people we had come out, and a large part of that success was our partnership with the town of Didsbury, who helped plan, advertise, and do dishes. So thank you. It was quite a party. Next slide, please. We also participate in community events anytime we can. So we ended up partnering up with the Prairie Motor Brigade to get the use of a lovely little army Jeep, and we put our veteran Bill Jeps in it, who is, 98 now? I believe he's just turned 98, and he had the time of his life. He really had a good time riding around in the parade and waving to everybody, so that was really rewarding for us. Next slide, please. One of our main focuses in the coming year is going to be doing more fundraisers. So we typically have our Sugar Fest and our Pie Social, and we're going to be exploring other avenues of different ways that we can raise money. but they always seem to be well attended. We had the videographers come in and do some videos of our seniors in particular when they come in and play cards, which over the summer was every Thursday. Our veterans banners launched again this year. We had 3 new banners. So that was just 2 weeks ago, I think, was the official launch. So they'll be going up around town soon. Next slide, please. We also make sure that we try to appreciate, not only our volunteers and our partners and everybody who comes through the door, but we try to show that in different ways by having appreciation events or team building opportunities or what have you. But we try to keep it all within a budget. Next slide, please. And the reason is because it's a really old building. Next slide, please. The ongoing maintenance of our very ancient building is always foremost on our minds. Upcoming, we know that we have a boiler flush, which we're currently in the middle of. The original estimates were going to be about $6,000, but it looks like it's going to be a bigger project than we anticipated. We don't know yet what that number is going to look like. We've upgraded security within the building. We've got interior cameras installed. We're looking at doing exterior ones next, but there's always complications with a historic building because we cannot add too much to the building without permission. So that's the next thing we're going to look. Technology, we're always trying to keep up with technology, but one of our computers in the archives is having some hiccups. Our microfilm reader has completely died. Our microphone has failed, probably from overuse from all of the functions that we're holding. And then, of course, we have a big exterior conservation project, which we are continuously working towards. We've had some flooding that we have to address. Like, it just never ends. So we do the best that we can, but there's always unexpected expenses when it comes to that. Next slide, please. We did, however, get our front doors painted this year, and they are bright and fresh and new and eye-catching, and that was due to the community grant from the town of Didsbury. So we are certainly grateful for that. Next slide, please. And we've also experienced a lot of changes downstairs in our archives. We like to brag about the fact that we had Joyce Gerbrandt there with us for about 20 years, and the assistant archivist was there for about 16 or 17. Both of them have retired this year. Due to some health conditions, they both decided that they needed to move to the bigger center, and they've retired and moved to Calgary. However, we are really lucky that we've had 2 new volunteers step up and try to fill those shoes. So the museum's still in good hands. We have a brand new archivist and a brand new assistant archivist, and they are doing an amazing job. On their very first project, we had a gentleman call and ask about his family history. They found more information than even his family knew about and more locations of where the family had originally settled. And he was so grateful, he came in and gave a $75 donation to the museum. So that was a really good way for them to hit the ground running. Next slide, please. So we have our working budget. This has been approved by the board of directors. Next slide, please. And on here, we've outlined our revenue for the sake of ease of reading. We've combined some of our categories. But let me know if you have any questions about either our revenue. Obviously, most of our revenue comes from grants and fundraising. Our donations have historically been going up, as well as our attendance and visitors, so that's really good for us. Next slide, please. And then we have our expenses. And last time I came to speak to you guys, we explained that a lot of our expenses are really unknown because maintenance is one of our biggest expenses. And just the operations of the museum, we know that our utilities are very expensive, but yeah, we just do the best we can to make the dollar stretch as far as it can. But with us getting busier and busier, it's not an easy task. Next slide, please. We hope that this helps you visualize what the Didsbury and District Historical Society has been doing on a very tight budget and what we continue to push forward to do in the coming year. We also hope that it inspires you to invest a little more into the operations of the Didsbury Museum and help ensure that we will continue to make a positive impact on our community, on tourism, on schools and seniors, and so much more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Questions? Deputy Mayor?
A couple, I'll just ask one and then they can go around. You said you had some flooding. Was that caused by rain this year, or is there some bad plumbing in the building?
The plumbing is all good, which is the good news. We do, in one of the rooms that we just use as a workroom, we do occasionally, we're talking maybe once every 5 years, have some flooding down in that room. So it's just a concrete floor, no artifacts. So that's a known thing that we just mitigate every time it happens. Unless we were to dig into the foundation, there's no way to permanently fix that. And that's a price tag that I don't think would be worthwhile at this point. The flooding that we've experienced upstairs, one of the leaks is in the bell tower. That one should be really easy to address because it's the bell tower. It's easy access, it's a small room, and it literally has only been happening over the last month. So that's something new. A little bit earlier in the summer, the classroom developed a leak. And it leaked for 2 rainstorms and then it stopped. So that one's going to be a little bit harder to track down where that's coming from, what prompted it to start, and what prompted it to end. So those are the 2 that we need to look at and just see what's going on there. So obviously it's a problem with the roof somewhere, but we don't know how extensive that may be.
Well, I just want to thank you, the society and all of the volunteers. I don't know how many thousands of hours are volunteered into the museum itself, and it would be sad to see the building fall apart because I sometimes believe that the museum itself should be in the museum. It's such a beautiful building. So I know that's impossible, but it's just such a treasure for this town. So
It
thank
is.
you for all the work you do there.
Thank you.
Do you have other questions?
Okay.
So we're just gonna, it seems always just anything you want to address or question right now, that was it?
Yeah, unless I think of something.
Yeah, no, you said you had it too, but you're welcome to ask the second one.
I'm good now. I think she answered it.
Councilor Razik?
Thank you, Mayor. All these treasures have to be looked after. Some of them are irreplaceable. So I agree with you. We have to address the maintenance issues with the museum. And again, kudos to the many people who support you and volunteer for the work you do. And you used to say all this old stuff we don't get unless a farmer keeps it. You know, they're the kind of people who hold on to all these artifacts that show up at the museum. And I have a hard time going there because everything in there I'm familiar with. That's rather telling. But yeah, it's something we have to address and look after. We have to keep that building in repair, even marginally if that's all we can do. But hopefully we can come forth with some suggestions to mitigate these problems so it's a little easier on the board and the people that work there. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
I guess I would just thank you as well. It's always such a treat to go there, and everybody has a different perspective, and a thing that they love about it. My great-grandchildren just have such a good time with those trains. I am concerned about the boiler because I know those things can get really expensive. Do you think it might have to be replaced, or is it just a major repair of the original boiler, do you think?
Well, I mean, the good news is it's a modern boiler by boiler standards. The pumps had to be replaced, is my understanding. So a lot of this work has just been happening over the last week that I've been on holidays. But the pumps have been replaced. A safety valve has been installed, which wasn't set up previously. And we're working towards a maintenance program so that it's not putting out fires, so to speak. In this case, not literally, thankfully. But we hadn't really been aware of how much maintenance we hadn't been doing. What you didn't know in this case could have hurt us. But we have some really knowledgeable volunteers, and they've been great working with the people that we hired to come in and do the work. And we're going to put a program in place to do yearly maintenance on it so that we're not looking at major hiccups down the road. And if we have blockages, what happened was many years ago we had some blockages, and apparently they put a Band-Aid on the system. Essentially, they bypassed some of the worst of it, thinking that we would address it down the road. But as things change hands, messages get lost. We didn't know how big of an issue it was until we lost heat in the winter, last winter. So we knew that there was an issue. They came in and inspected the system, but we just didn't know how big of a problem it was until they started the flush. So that has been in progress over the last week, and it's something that absolutely has to be done. So there's no, it wasn't money that we budgeted for. We budgeted for what the original quote was, but it looks like a bigger problem. So we're just going to keep flushing until it works well and keeps the heat in the building, because there's no way around it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? That's good. Okay. I might have asked this question last year too. Is that 3,100 visits or visitors? Like you track them?
So it is visits.
Count me as a visitor. Do I visit every time?
It's interesting. We're one of the only museums that gets a lot of repeat visitors, even from other cities. Like we have a gentleman who comes and visits us probably once a month from Calgary. But we don't really have an effective way of tracking, because sometimes it's even hard to read their writing. So it's hard to even determine where they're from, let alone who they are. And sometimes only one person in the party signs in, and then it's just 5 people in the party. So there's not a good way to track who is coming and how often. So all we know is that number of people have walked through our doors. And that's only visitors, not volunteers. We track our volunteers separately. So yeah, that's over 4,000 people have come through our doors for one reason or another. Sometimes it is the trains, sometimes it is the artifacts, presenters, all kinds of reasons they come through, but they're coming through. So
Right. And
Yeah.
they would have to have their own QR code or something.
That'd be interesting.
Because me going through, I would have to have my own identification.
like scanning your little Costco
Yeah.
card. Yeah.
No, I just looked forward to that. I think I did that last year, so I'll make note of that. That's still very impressive. Obviously, it's a lot of people opening and closing the door on those great new red doors, and they look
Yeah.
great, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't have any other questions either. That's a wonderful presentation, very thorough, and certainly helps understand where you're at, and we appreciate obviously the work that went into that. It's,
I think easily we could see another potentially up to 1,000 visitors before the end of the year, because we know we have Winona Earp coming through this week. We haven't done our statistics for September, and we had a lot of people come through for the Mountain View Arts Festival. So it'll be really interesting to see where we sit. I know we're going to break our record from last year, but I just don't know by how much yet.
Well, that'll be exciting to find out.
Yeah.
I'm sure, we look forward to you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
So thank you both. You're certainly welcome to stay and listen to the other presenters.
Thank you.
We won't strap you to the chair, but that's certainly to do. But thank you for being here to be our opening presenter, and always appreciate all that. I call you all the keepers of our history, and that's a very valuable title to have, I believe. So thanks for all that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren, and Dawn. When I open tonight, you'll see a few empty chairs. Councillor Windsor has asked me to extend, in all transparency, that he is actually taking a stress leave from council right now, and Councillor Williams is not in his chair either tonight, sends his regrets, and he has not given me any direction on what I can tell you about him. So I leave that up to the councillors to do that unless they ask me to do that in their absence. So part of this as well is everybody heard the presentation on the success of 2024 to date with the museum. And then we always do get around to the budget discussion, and we appreciate that. It's part of the presentation that is here tonight. We ask for that. Our first budget presentation to council from administration is October 30th. So these presentations will be part of the consideration when we're going through our budgets and making our decisions about where we want to land with the final number. So thank you for everybody that did put in their ask. That helps us to understand going into the budget process, the considerations, the thoughtful consideration we have to give to all the budget numbers that we face, and want to use the budget dollars to the most effective way we can, and our organizations are certainly part of that effectiveness in use of budget dollars. So having said that, I will introduce Disbury Lions Club, the community bus project, and we welcome you all. I see Fred Marsh is going to be up presenting, and Leo Dusso, and Larry's going to stay in the back there and supervise, I guess. Is that a fair assessment? So thank you, Leo and Fred, for being here, and thank you for the community bus. But you can turn your mic on, and I'll give the floor to you.
Where's the magic button? Come on, Lisa. That's it. There. Thank you, everyone. I just want to say to Councillor Baswick that he's not a fossil yet.
Mr. Baswick.
Councillor Baswick, I just want to mention to you, you're not a fossil yet, so don't worry about the museum. Anyway, we're here again, Leo and I and Larry, again with the budget we proposed for the Lions shuttle bus, or whatever you want to call it. So I think we've gone over this before and everything, and this year with our bottom line budget that we usually, you guys have, we are pretty close. We're $778.50 in the hole overall. So with the $9,000, if we hadn't had that for last year, we would be like dang near 10,000 in the hole running the bus. So it's ongoing, and we are still, again, this year, there's nothing really other new. It's, mainly the drivers, the fuel, our repairs. The bus is getting older, so they're going up a little bit. And your insurance, WCB, and the phone. So basically, our charters have been pretty good this year. Our bus advertising, all the decals on the door, really helps to keep it going. And like I say, it's the major expenses that are the same, and Our biggest problem now with the drivers, which at one time, years ago, we had all the drivers were members, and we just ran the bus, no charge, nobody charged, whereas nowadays we've got, I think, 3 drivers and a spare.
Yeah.
And when they go out on the main days when we're in town, the actual drivers, you might as well call it, they're on call, just like ambulance or whatever. So from 9 o'clock to 4, we're paying them, but they might only have 2 people ride. So like it's something that you have to do. You can't just have somebody answer the phone and say, you know, they need a ride and I'm painting the fence or doing something. You can drop it and go and not get paid for those full hours. So that's one of our major definite expense. But otherwise, the bus is getting a little older too, and we are kind of making a kitty to see if it has to be replaced, or if we can't get anything, if the income can't come in, then we just have to possibly walk away from it. That's all. So with your help, we'll try to keep it going. That's it.
Thank you, Fred. Councillor Bowser, I'll start with you. Questions or comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you guys for coming and presenting. Is there something specific that we could do? I'm gather financially would be the key for making this project effective. Do you foresee any needs for increasing the dollars that the town has given the Lions?
Oh, want to say anything?
We found last year the $9,000 community grant that we got from you made the biggest difference in our operation. We still have nothing. We're eventually going to have to replace the bus, and we have nowhere in our budget that we're accumulating any capital for that. So we'll have to, when the time comes to replace it, we'll just have to find donors and stuff. But until then, that $9,000 grant last year, if we could keep getting that, would make a monstrous difference in our capacity to run the bus. Because I think we all know how it's needed and used in the town.
In the package that was provided to council, it says 9,000 to 12,000, so you'd be willing for us to consider 12,000. That's what that means.
Or 15.
Yeah.
We
But it
actually,
is in the package that we have, and if I'm reading that right, 9 to 12 is, I mean, if you're running at a deficit and things are going down in price.
we did think, like, this is the 3rd year, I think, when we first came in, we were asking, I believe, for 12, and that was, it was above what we actually did in expenses and stuff like that. So when we talked around and stuff, you know, we thought, I think we got 9 each time, or did we get 10 that year? Anyway, between us both, we agreed that we wouldn't have to get by that year with 12, so that's why we dropped to the 9 or 10 or whatever. And it's been pretty well average now the last 3 years type thing, so stuff has gone up, and if you can consider a little, it would be great with us. And also, I don't know if it come up on this, but I thought a couple months ago or whatever, in our paper with the mayor letter or whatever, that you might have thought of putting us on a regular grant or something. I'm not really positive on that. But instead of coming every year, or if it was something that we could know was coming, we could maybe plan a little more of on our budget or whatever for, say, the new bus or something that we know that's coming up.
Well, there was, and Amanda can answer that about the transportation grant. I believe there was some conversation. I don't know that there was, and that would be our transportation grant, but there's external ones as well that had been looked into.
The, we have reached out to the group about like a clean energy grant for, replacement of the vehicle, but not an ongoing operating grant, to my knowledge.
Right, yeah, I was thinking about the external ones that we were exploring at one point too, but that answers that. Anything else, Councilor Bezic?
Just that what Amanda said was, that's interesting, that the initiative of our administration is looking for environmentally friendly replacement grant, if it's possible, for that bus. So, you know, we're working on that to try to help that out. And I'm sorry to bring up the financial part, but that's the key to making this whole thing function properly, right?
Yeah.
So it's, it can be a sensitive area, but we have to get out in the open that you need help, and we have to find a way to help you. I'm on board with that, and from what our CFO said, that's really exciting information. Should be that it's potentially a potential possibility. So that's something to put in your backpack and hope that will happen. But it's something. A lot of people I know use the handy buses. It's invaluable to our town, so we have to keep it going somewhere, however we do that. Right? That's it.
Councilor Moore?
Yes, it always has bothered me that for Calgary, they spend $790 million on their budget on their transit, and the government gives them a grant for low-income people. Well, logically, this is our transit, and we should be getting a grant too. And as much as we try to advocate for that, let's hope that we're more successful in that vein too, because I think we should be getting our share of that as well. So, yes, we all appreciate what you do. Thank you.
I thought and this was my recall, this is a $9,500 grant last year. So we didn't give the other 500, just
No,
so
we
that- Okay.
So the first year we gave 9,000,
Yeah,
and then in 2024,
this year,
95,000.
have we assigned that out, or well, that's been a check? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I'm clarifying
have
for
we
me
received
that,
the payment,
For me?
the check's gone out, so.
okay, no, I just wanted to clarify for me that I wasn't imagining things. I don't usually, but, you know.
I mean, it was just pretty recently, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure. if
No, that's fair, just the letter, I wanted to, it still brings you right into the same number because we had a deficit, you said, and the
Yeah.
check is there to account for that, so
Myself.
I think when we created this external group presentation night, we were very much looking at the groups we already fund and that we invite them back, and in the future there may be more that we fund, but right now these are the groups that are getting annual funding, and so I don't believe that'll change, that the groups keep getting asked back for presentations every year and to understand all your successes and your challenges as well, and your needs to make sure that the community has that transportation, in your case, and something we're very grateful for. So I don't have any questions because I appreciate the letter that you sent and what's in it, and I'll pass it to the Deputy Mayor. And I didn't mean to turn before you, but
No, that's fine. I'm okay. I first wanted to thank the Lions Club for coming in and creating an auction at the budget meeting. We went 9, 12, 15. And I'm just kidding.
Go up.
The Lions Club has a long history in this town. My late father was a member of it, and my entire life, which is not quite the same era as John, but close. The Lions Club have been an important service group in this community, and I don't even remember when the camp kitchen was built, but as a small child, I remember being hauled down there by a Lions member to split wood with an old John Deere baler to convert it to a wood splitter, which certainly would excite the occupational health and safety people today. There would have been no safety designation with that. It's interesting that you guys are here asking, for budget items when it's not really for the Lions Club. It's for the service that you provide to the community, and that's honorable. I think all service clubs are struggling with membership right now. I know we've been through that with one that I was involved in, and I'm so happy to see that you guys are still here, trying to bring in an essential service to our mainly seniors in this town. I agree with Councillor Moore that we need to somehow tap into some of the provincial and federal transportation dollars that exist, and for some reason rural communities tend to be neglected. We don't have city buses. We have the Lions bus. And it just doesn't register as a big need in federal and provincial politics. So again, I just extend my thanks to what you guys do in this town. And I believe that what you're doing is essential for our seniors, so thank you.
Anything else to add? You don't have to. It was a very good presentation.
Nothing to add.
Nope, I think everything's good, and like I say, we don't mind coming every year and stuff, or however you guys can help us out, we'll still be showing up.
We'll keep coming hat in hand begging.
And I think I also saw a ad out for recruiting sons of previous Lions, is that? Or anyone who was recruited to the Lions. So
We
I
have
see
quite
you're
a-
always under recruitment as well, and that's great for the community.
I think one time we took a survey, I don't know if we said and how close I'm right, but we got 27 members. I think 2 are leaving this year, and not Diane, luckily. But I think in the 27, how many was there? There was at least over 20 that are 70 plus.
Yeah, I think our average age is about 76.
Yeah. And then between 50 and 70, I think there was maybe, again, another 12 or whatever to add up. And below 50, there's 2. So that's where we have a lot of trouble is there's some things like now when we used to go out every weekend and put up that great big giant tent and stuff. Well, we don't do it no more because we haven't got the muscle power. So there's a few things we have to abandon and adapt to a few other things and to keep things going. Yeah. But every club's getting older, it seems, and it's harder to actually find people now that really want to join them.
Yeah, and that's why we're live streaming this as well, so anybody watching, everybody in the gallery, anybody at the table, recruitment is always ongoing, and the Lions are in need of members, whatever age. So thank you. Can I just ask too, how long have each of you been a member?
Me?
Each of you, yeah.
Well, I actually was a member in Provost in 1970. And then when I moved here, I just transferred on. And then I believe about once the new shop came about and all my business and everything, it kind of got in the way, and 5 young kids and stuff, I left Lions for a couple of years or 3 years and then came back. So basically 70 to 24 is what I've actually been in Lions.
Wow. You?
And it was from my dad. He was a charter member.
Yeah. How many years for you, Leah?
About 15 years, but before that, with the Kinsman Club in town, I was with them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've spent a lot of years in service clubs for the town.
Larry? How long have you been a lion?
I've been a member for 54 years.
Wow.
I started out in Cremona, and I was up there for 35 years. So I just come back to Didsbury about 2 years ago, so I'm back home.
Welcome back. Yes. Well, thank you all. That's a lot of years of service. So thank you for being here, for your presentation, and once we get our budget discussions done, we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillors.
Thanks, Lisa. I'm not getting old, I just had a hip done.
I know you'll be running in next time, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. All right, so now we have our Didsbury Municipal Library Board presentation. Our chairperson, Melinda Crampton, and manager, Maya.
We brought props.
Yeah, I see that, that's good.
Just trying some way to liven it up. I'm not. And I have calendars. May I hand them out to everybody?
Yes, please, I'm sorry, it's Maya Foster, I just cut her name short because I introduced Melinda Crampton. So thanks for being here, both of you. Thank you.
I would like to thank Mayor Hunter and Council for having us tonight. I'm Melinda Crampton, and this is Maya Foster. Good evening. Thank you so much to Council and Administration for making time for us today, as well as being good partners in helping us provide Didsbury residents with top-notch services. We appreciate all of the hard work and dedication you provide for our community. I have it written down to introduce myself, but it's happened twice already, so we're going to move on. But I am joined here by board members and staff. Next slide. This evening, as we talk about municipal funding for 2025 for the Didsbury Library, we'd like to talk about the return on investment that libraries offer to our municipalities. In 2023, the Canadian Urban Institute, a not-for-profit dedicated to urban planning, released a report titled Overdue, the Case for Canada's Public Libraries, which found that for every dollar of funding invested into Canadian libraries, $6 is generated in community economic impact, which is a return of 600%. Libraries serve as a crucial support system for the community, particularly in light of the rising cost of living. At the Didsbury Library, we envision an inclusive community destination that makes the world of information, imagination, and ideas freely accessible to all. We provide this through services, resources, and materials. When we talk about funding public libraries, we need to talk about the core value of literacy and the current statistics in Canada and Alberta. A 2023 report, The Case for Literacy in Alberta, discovered that 45% of working-age Albertans do not have the literacy skills required to perform most jobs in today's economy. A 2024 article published in the Edmonton Journal found that the illiteracy rate amongst children in Alberta has doubled over the past 20 years to 14.7%. Literacy is the learning to learn skill. We learn to read so that we can read to learn. Literacy is essential to solving problems, thinking critically, and being creative. A high level of literacy is essential for community engagement and development. People with higher literacy rates are more likely to be engaged, to volunteer, and to have more trust in people and institutions. Research has also shown that a 1% rise in average literacy skills increases productivity by 5% and the GDP by 3%, which is $60 billion in Canada. How are libraries providing a solution? Oh, next slide. Thanks. It's clear that investing in the Didsbury Municipal Library is one of the most effective tools and solutions for supporting Didsbury families. Didsbury Library programs, outreach, partnerships, and collections aim to bridge these gaps in literacy. We are contributing to healthy community development. Public libraries offer solutions. It is shown that the most effective and efficient way to reduce the cost of low literacy, both in dollars and human costs, is to provide literacy materials and supports early in the lives of children. We also advocate for literacy-rich activities for all age groups. One of these is our family literacy program, Adventure Babies, on Wednesday mornings, which acts as a gateway to learning for adults who experience low literacy and marginalization. This program brings parents and children together to practice literacy together, which leads to increasing that. So throughout 2024, what is the evidence that we can show you for the impact on our community? By the end of 2024, we will see over 20,000 visits through our doors. These visits are engaging with our programs and our services. A fundamental concept of public libraries is that by pooling resources among friends and neighbors, every member of our community can access the materials necessary for enriching and fulfilling lives, irrespective of their income. Didsbury Library patrons have saved over $266,000 accessing library resources. This includes attending programs, borrowing materials, and using public computers, printing services, Wi-Fi, etc. This helps community and the people cope during inflationary times. We also have developed 100+ partnerships throughout the community, throughout Didsbury and the county, educational institutions, the lodges, local organizations, not-for-profits, and businesses. Next slide. Here are some of our ongoing projects. In the fall of 2024, we're hosting a dementia workshop series. This will be 4 evenings, 2 hours for each session, that is providing information for caregivers. This is a partnership with Alzheimer's Calgary, and we were overfilled actually for these sessions, and we have created a wait list for a next round of sessions. This is a need that has definitely been demonstrated and in our community. We will have hosted 4 authors to Didsbury by the end of 2024. We'll have hosted 2 local first-time authors, one from Didsbury and one from Olds. We hosted Genevieve Graham, who is a best-selling author of 7 different books. And at the beginning of October, Wednesday, October 9th, we're hosting Dale Leckie, who is an Alberta geologist, and he's published 3 books. This is his newest, which is about touring Alberta and by discovering different wildlife, landscapes, and geology. The final project to mention in 2024 is the 4th year of our Teen Advisory Board and Teen Takeovers plan by the Teen Advisory Board. This is a program that has been supported with funding from the FCSS over the past 4 years, and it provides ownership to teen programs, materials, resources that they want to see in our community at the library. So for example, just last week on Friday, they asked us to do a teen budgeting workshop. We got more in the door by telling them that there were pizza and board games, but it was very well attended, and it was initiated by the Teen Advisory Board. All of these things at the library are made possible through the team that we have. It is a diverse group of individuals who share a commitment to providing excellent library services. We collaborate effectively, think creatively, and deliver results. Our program coordinator, Trish Murphy, engages with people of all ages nearly every day. On Mondays, she does crib with the seniors. On Tuesdays, she plays with all of the new babies in the community. And at least 3 times a week, she is seeing kids after school for a variety of programs, such as Lego and crafts. Our patron relations team is Jen Dirksen, Diana Archer, Noah Grecki, and Randy Leeson. And they're at the front desk answering all of those questions that come through our door. From what's a good book for my grade 1 child to learn how to read? Can you print my resume off my phone? Can you help me book tickets to get home to Sri Lanka? Our collections and marketing person is Jules Stewart, and she gets that information out into the community for everybody to be aware of what is happening at the Didsbury Library and what services, programs that they can access. She also gets the books on the shelf. We talk about a lot of the other things that the library does, but we are still books. And that's what people come to our space to also get. And we try to make sure that whether it's the newest Book Talk book that the 20-year-olds are coming in and asking for, or the Alberta Aviation books that the gentleman asks for, that those are there and in our community for them to read. And our custodian is Nicole Adamczyk. We often talk about libraries as a third space in our communities. We talk about them as a living room for the people. And Nicole does a great job of making it a welcoming, clean, and safe place for people to visit. We're really lucky to have Nicole on staff. Nicole was a board member for 10 plus years and has been a frequent patron, and we managed to convince her to join our team as well now. The Didsbury Municipal Library funding request from the town of Didsbury for 2025 is $276,866.87. This funding is essential to maintain collection development and service levels despite rising costs. It will give staff members a 3% COLA increase to their wages to reflect CPI over the previous 12 months. It will allow the library to add a new staff position of library page at 8 hours a week. This position will allow for other members of the staff to assist patrons given a surge in programming and technological assistance. Increased circulation that we've seen over the past few years means that more items than ever need to be shelved, and the library page will be responsible for that duty, giving circulation staff time to assist patrons. This will also be a youth investment into our community, providing employment opportunity for a young high school student. As a partner in library funding, staff has increased fundraising and donations by over 40% in the past 2 years, and we ask the Didsbury Council to grant our 2025 funding request to keep pace with the rising cost of materials and the surge in demand from our community. Some of our plans and goals for 2025: we will grow with your funding by focusing on digital options. When we talk about literacy, one of the considerations for literacy is technological literacy. We talk about a lack of Wi-Fi or rural internet access, but actually one of the biggest barriers to technology growing is technological literacy amongst people. So we provide over 100 one-on-one sessions with people when they come in with their devices, either a phone, a tablet, or a computer, and we help walk them through learning that technology. We also have different programming for all ages and equipment available. So we have, as an example, we have 2 T135s, T145s available for high school students to borrow, and we see those go out frequently. For those that perhaps can't afford to purchase one, we have Chromebooks for people to borrow. Those are usually always out as well. This year we added a magnifier with a light for people that have low visual access to books. And speaking of that, we also would like to increase our digital collection, as we get many requests to do so for ebooks and e-audiobooks. They are very expensive for libraries to purchase, so adding to that collection is somewhat of a barrier, but we do see an increasing request for them. And one of those is for aging readers. Aging readers often are hesitant to bring books home for 2 reasons: the size of the print and the heaviness of the books. And a lot of them have been turning to using ebooks because they can hold them a lot easier and they can increase the font size as well. So we actually are seeing a lot of the aging population in Didsbury asking us how to use those services and asking what we have. We're also going to continue to expand our horizons. We're adding English language learning for newcomers to Didsbury and to Canada, And we are adding a second language learning class for that personal lifelong learning. And we continue to form strategic alliances and partnerships with our schools and nonprofits to enhance our program offerings. Thank you very much for having us here today. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It was great. Councillor Moore?
I just always enjoy my interactions there. My whole family just loves it. We do visits to your library whenever they come and load ourselves up with books and movies and all kinds of fun things to do. And you're so helpful, and your staff is to get us just the right things. They know exactly the right books for each age. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Welcome. Lots to say, probably not a lot of questions. But I want to start with acknowledging what a wonderful job our library has done in shifting from just checking out books to supports. And by supports, I mean, I read on here a seniors crib club. I got a phone call Saturday afternoon from a seniors at Aspen Lodge asking if I could come down and play some crib. And I just find it ironic that that's on here. And I hope that you guys are able to get that message out to them. I'm sure you do. And our library has become so much more than just a place of checking out a book and returning a book. And that is because of the hard work that you do. I do want you guys to give a shout out for a little program that you have going on that I don't think it's talked about enough. And I spoke at the Didsbury Showcase with Trish Murphy about it. And it's you collect food.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're streaming live here, and I want to give you an opportunity to explain that to people. Just how valuable that one particular thing that you do is that people don't often consider when they think about libraries, because they are so much more than books.
Our community pantry has been running for nearly 2 years now. It is run by donations. And the reason why we have it at the library is that we know from seeing people who visit the library that there is food insecurity in this community. And we wanted to help that if we could. After some conversations with other local organizations, they supported the library being a great place for that. Essentials does amazing work, but they're only able to be available, I think, 2 nights a week. Mountain View Food Group is located in Olds, and as we heard about transportation being vital in the previous presentation, not everybody can get to Olds. So the Didsbury Library is open 6 days a week. It's 8 hours a day during the week, and we are there, and the community pantry is available for use for anybody that needs it as well. It is a no questions asked program that we run, and we feel it is very close to the hearts of a lot of staff. It's very important to us, and we feel very happy that we've been able to play that part in our community. And I'd love to give a big shout out, actually. We have a partnership with Fountain Tire from September till the end of December. They are offering free flat repairs to any personal vehicles, so like personal cars and trucks, with a donation that goes to our community pantry. So again, that's another partnership that we're fortunate to provide, and that we were approached about, and it's a great way to develop those community relationships and just make it a stronger place to live.
So thank you. I just wanted people to hear what that program was and encourage them to drop off a donation to just when you're walking by the library, stop in and do something. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Beswick?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. You guys are so creative. The things you do that are that I'm just finding out about that I wasn't aware of. I think what impresses me the most is the many programs you have for the young people who are the future of Didsbury and helping them out. It's just, well, there's 6 of the programs, you know, it's Munchkin Mania and Craft Tune Children, creative names too, you know. Game on Children, and then they're going to have a special teen fright night. I'm looking forward to this Mountain View Comic-Con. I didn't realize we had that here. We'll see what happens with that. I appreciate your creativeness and trying to develop new ideas and new things that are exciting and encouraging to the young people of our town, and also your support to the more mature portion of the community. But our future is the youth, and you're really paying attention to that. I like that approach. Just doing good work. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Councillor Baswick.
I'm interested in Old Town Office, where we stand with that, and your use of that, like in your programming and whatnot. I know a while back, a few years back, we talked about the Old Town Office and access to it. And is that incorporated into your programs right now, or?
We have permission to use the back of the building for storage, and that is the only agreement that we have with the town. I was recently in a meeting with our town liaison, Nicole Asen, and she did raise the question of whether that would be a good opportunity to move forward for more space for the Didsbury Library. So there has been an ongoing search for a way to find a new build, but I mean, my presentation featured a lot about inflation and rising costs, and so I think that is not necessarily the focus for the board and for even the staff members, like the team. We are there to provide the best that we can to the community with what we have. And if the opportunity for more space arose, we would definitely be open to using that, and definitely it would go a long way to being able to do some perhaps further programming. There can be a revenue generating stream if we were to be able to rent the space. There are a lot of groups in the community that do need spaces to use as well. Right now, actually, we're struggling on Fridays. We have a group of 8 teens that want to have a study group every Friday at the library, but actually we often have at least one other program, if not 2, running at the same time. So that additional space would come in handy. So there have been conversations whether that could be a possibility in the future, and the board and staff were open to that suggestion.
Yeah, because I sort of recall conversations that the building is there and the opportunity to use it. Would that have an impact on your budget if you expand programming into there? Or, and I can ask about our budget another day, but in our facility, but is there, if you see yourself moving in with programs there with this budget that you're presenting, is that going to make any difference, or will it just all be encompassed in that? And I know I'm talking hypothetical, but I believe that talking about your demand and your visits and programs you can and do run.
If we are going to speak hypothetically, then we would attempt to make it work within the budget that we have approved for 2025, and then explore how that would change things in the future. And that may be looking for further partnerships or grants, or like I said, a revenue income stream of space rental. But if we were given that opportunity, then we'd probably try to grab it with both hands and find a way to make it work. But I don't have any concrete numbers or answers budget-wise.
So thank you for that. And I know many on this council were part of the initial conversation in 18 that we all had big hopes for a new library, and through various attempts at grants and finding locations and listening to proposals, we're just not there, and I certainly appreciate that the library, I mean, the library looks great. It's very bright and welcoming and almost looks new in my mind, so. But you made it so bright and welcoming that to know that that's one way to accommodate more programming. I think I'd like, certainly pursue that with council at our budget table and at our discussion, because it's a municipal facility that we have had conversations about in the past. So if it would help the library. I mean, it's right there. If you had a window, or a door, you could walk right into it. That's just me talking.
Okay.
A question I had about how that could or would fit in your budget, and I like your answer. And if that's something we can pursue, I think council would certainly put the question to the administration to see what we could do with that and how it would affect our budget even with. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't think there's anything big on that. But having said that, I have no more questions because I think grandchildren. I'd like to think I read a lot of books, but I've got 12 or 18 in a pile right now waiting for me to read them. But grandchildren definitely do bring grandparents into the library more, and you see more what's going on, and it's great that we have such a great facility with such a great team and board to help make sure it's seeing those, the last 200 and some thousand visits. Sorry, not 200. I don't have it in front of me. I'm going to just so I can be accurate. 27,000 plus. But you never know, 200 might be possible someday.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll say that's very successful right now in 27. So thank you for your presentation. Do you have anything to add before?
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank you.
So as with all groups, again, thank you, and we'll be in touch. And with that, thanks everybody for staying and listening to our groups. I'm sure they appreciate not being abandoned because they're the last presenters. So that was great to see everybody enjoy the presentations and hear what the library and the Lions are doing, and vice versa for the museum and the groups that were here listening first. So I can I don't think we have any other discussion on that unless anybody has any comments or questions. Okay, so I will call for adjournment at 6:43 by consensus. All right, I declare this meeting adjourned.